All right, I am recording this. All right, so good morning, you guys. Hope you guys are doing well. It is Saturday morning here, so just wanted to share some charts, my thoughts going into next week. And of course, since it is Zoom, you guys can feel free to speak, ask questions, or provide your thoughts, opinions. I'm certainly open to it. I'm not the only one that knows everything. I'm not, I don't know everything. So I feel like, this is a good opportunity for us to just discuss things, charts, whatever you like. So I'll go through that today. All right, go Niners. Okay, so so to wrap up this week, obviously we saw the CPI data on Thursday morning. The market priced in such a move, or the CPI print at 6.5%. Okay, and the market has not done much since that move, initial move in the pre-market on Thursday. So we're pretty much right back where we were at the highs of Thursday. And we did reach a slightly new high on Friday. So overall, the market's looking pretty good, pretty bullish. Okay, definitely a lot of momentum on the upside. And so we'll take a look at the charts. What you need to be aware of this coming week is obviously we are closed, or market is closed on Monday. It's Martin Luther King holiday. On Tuesday, well, there's not much data happening this week except for when we get into Wednesday morning. Okay, Wednesday morning is PPI. Okay, and that's coming out at 8:30 a.m. along with retail sales, and there will be Fed speakers as well this week. Okay, the expected producers price index is 5.6%. Okay, they say that this is the preferred gauge for the Feds. All right, so they look at this number, or they claim to, more than the CPI data. So it is expected. Last month we came in at 6.2%. On December 9th, the market did end red that day. 2 days later, if you guys, December 9th was right here, we did end that day red when the PPI came out, but we blasted off on CPI that came out 2 days afterwards. So oftentimes, depending on the calendar, they'll come out with CPI first and then PPI, but December was backwards. Okay, so this was the reaction on December 13th when they released the actual CPI, which generally gets more market movement. I don't see the market making bigger moves on PPI. It's kind of expected that we will come in line, all right, at 5.6%. And the US PPI year over year is last month reading was 7.4%. Forecast is 6.8. So these are pretty low forecasts. And I think the market is pricing in, hey, inflation is moderating. Now it's about earnings season the week after. All right. As you know, the tech earnings season starts the week after this coming week, and we'll go from there. Right. So that's what you got going on the economic side, data side on the for the following week. Okay, so let's go to start on the SPY's weekly chart, moving average 200. All right, we cleared the moving simple moving average 20. You have a nice hammer, okay, on the weekly chart here. And because this week was a full week, we actually saw higher volumes. Okay, we remember the week prior was only a 4-day trading week, and we're about to have another 4-day trading week again. And so this is your weekly trend line, ladies and gentlemen. All right, we got rejected. Obviously, it started here, rejection here, rejection here. Big rejection here right at the CPI print, and we're coming back around, all right, and attacking this trend line, which coincides with the moving average 50 right about the 403, 404 mark. What's interesting is on this weekly chart, all right, you can see kind of a inverse head and shoulders developing here. All right, you have your, let's see if I can, all right, this would be your left shoulder, and then this would be right shoulder. Okay, so that's there. Okay, I think it's pretty bullish, right? If we can cross over into the 403, into that 404 market, just gonna have to see how the market reacts to it. Okay, so that is your weekly chart, coincides with the moving average 50 once again. Now going on the daily chart though, okay, you can see that we're moving up, all right, on much lower volumes. All right, this was good volume day, or this was a good volume day. All right, December on January 6th, which triggered this run. We broke out of the daily bear flag, so invalidated the daily bear flag, and we actually crossed into the moving average 200 on the daily, which is a significant event. Okay, and we closed right above it. The demand, all right, held on the daily here. So demand here, even though the dip was bought on Thursday, the dip was bought again on Friday. So very, very bullish momentum. The question once again becomes, can we cross over and close over this trend line? Can we actually sustain the moving average 200 on the daily? Okay, even with lower volumes. All right, so this would be 401, like I said, weekly trend line 404, 403, 404. We could get a situation this week if the PPI data is good that we kind of come over up here. If we blast off, please expect some type of retest back to 400 before we go higher. Okay, so that's definitely a possibility. The other possibility, of course, is that we go into this trend line, all right, and come back and retest, okay, kind of thing. So this is entirely possible as well. Some things will have to happen on the broader economic side for that to happen. PPI hot, bad news, okay, earnings season. All right, any of those things can trigger a sell-off. Okay, personally for me, as I've mentioned before, is that we are running out of steam. Okay, this is running out of steam. Yes, this was a rising wedge, okay, that broke down, but the bulls kept a good fight. And now you got a 1 hour shooting star on top here. So this is starting to get stale up here. All right. And all of your time frames, as I mentioned before, is pretty much overbought. All right. From for all time frames, we're just overbought. Okay. You're going to run out of steam. Yes, we fill the gaps here. All right. I know there are gaps up here that needs to get filled, I believe. Yes, there's a gap up here. All right, slight small gap here at 420, 421. We filled this gap here. All right. Some experts believe that we're going down this week, and I have to believe the same as well. No matter how great the momentum is, you still have too much imbalance in the marketplace. Okay, and that's below. All right, and those imbalance has to get filled before we move up. I am not saying I'm not trying to be a bear. All right, I am trying to say that we need a nice healthy pullback into 390 before we can go higher. You can see that this daily channel, all right, this is support, big support back in December, right here at the 390 level. And that's obvious. We blasted through that resistance, okay, where we couldn't on January 9th. We did 3 days ago, all right? Wow, there's a gap there and a gap up, okay? So there's a small gap here that needs to get filled right about the 390 level. If that gets filled, then that's actually a good thing. Then you can actually move back up if the momentum continues, all right? Moving average 50 is 390 as well, okay? We're skewing too far away from a simple moving average 20 without a retest, okay? So I am open to, at least on Tuesday, all right, for a run up into this trend line. And I think we're going to pull right back. Okay. And I think we're going to pull back to 390 initially. All right. Before anything happens. So target this week. All right. Upside is going to be 400, 401. All right. And the downside, I do believe that we're going to see 390. Some folks are expecting a bigger pullback, but we'll see. All right. But I am expecting at least a 390 test or a moving average 50 test at 390. All right. And that is for the SPYs. On the 1 hour, on the 30-minute charts here, we're just going to have to see if these levels held. You can see that yesterday was a nice double bottom bounce off the 393, 392 level. All right. And went a little higher. Like I said, it's running out of steam up here. You're not going to have big money hedge funds, whales, etc., buying at these prices, unfortunately. They're already buying, well, in hindsight, they were already buying here, okay? So they're ready to sell, okay? They're not ready to buy. What's moving, some of this could be retail options, etc. All right. So I don't believe, has much more steam above this without a pullback and or some retest, some supports. Okay. All right, and feel free, you guys can, let's see, let me open the chat. Where's the chat here? Okay, if you guys want to put something in the chat, if you have questions, or you can unmute yourself if you want to speak as well. Okay, all right, let's move on to the Qs. Okay. Q looking pretty interesting here. All right. Moving average 200 is way up here. All right. That's at 297. I'm not going to think about that for now. But you're running into supply channels again. And I'm still pretty confident in my assessment of this is a bearish divergence. We're making lower highs on the price of the equity and also the higher highs. Okay. On the stochastics, and you can see this is starting to curl downwards. This is starting to curl downwards. Now, I totally realized that during the June run-up, the June rally, all right, we went from literally 269, 270, all the way up to 335 before it died off. Okay, so this rally could look like this rally, or this rally could look like this rally too. And the stochastics remain absolutely oversold on the daily timeframes. So that's entirely a possibility as well. So, but I don't see this volume. All right, I don't see volume on this trend or on this run. Okay, so it is peaking over the daily trend line. All right, so that's positive. Nice cup action here. Let's move on to the weekly. All right, this is your weekly chart, moving average 50, green line. You have your weekly 200 line crossed over, actually closed right at the 200 weekly with the SMA 20 curling back up. So the tech, as I mentioned in the last couple of weeks, have been underperforming the S&P 500. And you can see, let me bring out the oscillator here, that the Nasdaq, all right, that the Nasdaq is the most overbought levels at 300 on the mid-calendar oscillator since all of last year. All right, in this last 1 week or so, it has been just severely overbought. All right, so this is why I'm saying that tech needs a pullback. All right, but a lot of people are scooping up cheap shares, quote unquote. The Googles, the Amazons. Amazon had its best week since 2021, I think. April 2020, I think, where this week Amazon was up over 14.5%. All right, so this is all very interesting going into next week. However, going into this trend line, you're going to see some resistance up at the 290. The 290, now that we cross over to 280, the 290 level becomes a huge level to see if we can crack that. But it's getting close. All right, just like the SPYs, it's getting close, right? Okay, let's actually move to the index SPX here. All right, you can see we closed right under 4,000 on Friday. All right, 3999.09. Moving average 50 is going to be 40.50. All right, and you can see on this weekly chart, right? This was December. All right, December 13 CPI blasted into 4,100. All right, and rejected downward sloping moving average 50, upward sloping moving average 200, holding it to dear life. All right, 40.58 is going to be an interesting spot, or around 40.50 going into next week. So that's huge, right? If you can actually move past that, that would be very positive for the market. All right, or we come back and retest 3,900, which is a huge level of support right below the SPX. Once again, you have lower highs, higher lows, lower highs, higher highs. All right, sorry, English is my second language. Are the oscillators on the CCI and also the stochastics. All right. Okay, let's move on. A couple more charts. I think we're good unless you guys have questions. Apple, all right. Apple, good momentum here. All right. This was a huge support line for since pretty much since May 2022. You can see the bulls are very ecstatic about Apple in this area. Apple bounce, Apple bounce, Apple bounce. All right. And weaker bounce this time around, lower highs, of course, but you can see that this bounce, all right, created new support right about the 120. Remember that day we dipped down to 124, 123, and it's been on a tear. Rejected on this January 9th, okay, this resistance, and this today or yesterday, we closed right into the resistance. Ooh, dramatic. All right, so that's a nice bullish candlestick, lower volumes once again, high oscillators once again. All right, so I am expecting a pullback this week on Apple as well. All right, Tesla. All right, let's look at darling Tesla. All right, now, once again, everything, most of Friday's candlesticks very, very bullish. All right, for the time being. All right, 115, 117 levels keep holding, even though pre-market dump on Friday, and we opened up at 115 with the gap down, it actually came up and filled the gap. So believe that, right? That's really interesting to me. Obviously, it was a good market day, so the Tesla bulls charged in. Oh, no, not quite filled the gap, a little bit, still a little bit to go, maybe 98 cents above, and you can see this gap fill. But up here, okay, big consolidation channel on a 30-minute. Okay, the bulls are certainly holding tight to 115. All right, that's going to be huge support. If we can actually move out of 124 to the 125 range, there's certainly a lot of open skies above for Tesla going into the week. Obviously, this is going to be a big test. This is the area where we broke down from to fill the gap, 144, 138. All right, you do have SMA 20 catching up as well here at 125. So that's going to serve as some resistance going into the week. Yes, I'm going to add more. I am definitely going to add more SPY puts, the May SPY puts, the 379s. All right, I did roll them. All right. I just don't want to swing long. I mean, we are holding the 405s, okay, for Tuesday. I'm expecting a little bit of run up, all right, and then a pullback. Happy to capitalize on the pre-market or maybe even a little bit of gap up on Tuesday, okay? But I just, I can't shake the feeling that we're going to get rejected here and see a pullback. And it's not, I'm not saying as a bearish pullback. I'm saying it's a healthy pullback, okay? If we retest, all right, if we break out of this, great, fantastic. Let's be bulls, all right? I don't care. We can be bulls up to 420, okay? And then we'll see if it comes back to retest this trend line. All right. So yes, I will add to the May puts. I think we have time. And in addition to that, you have earnings seasons coming up. Apple, all right. Apple releasing little news all over the place in the last week or so. They're talking about a MacBook with the touchscreen, Mr. Tim Cook taking a 40% pay cut. A lot of stuff's been happening with Apple, cutting demand, production on AirPod Pros and MacBooks as well. These are things that investors will weigh in on when it comes to their earnings, which is, let's see when Apple earnings is. Apple earnings is going to be 2/2, all right, February 2nd. So that's coming up in about 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks. So when they report, it's going to be interesting. If Apple runs up into the earnings, I'm going to play puts. I think that Apple will do well eventually later down this year or later this year. But Q4, I don't know. I don't. They're expected to hit. Sorry, Q1. Yeah, they're expected to hit $123 billion in revenue forecast. And I do believe they're going to come in slightly short. Okay. We'll all figure it out, as we get into the earnings seasons the week after. We're gonna have to look at the market where it is and decide if we're going to play the options. But the first one, the big one, first up is going to be Microsoft. Okay, Microsoft is pretty interesting, right? You had a big head and shoulders here. All right, head, shoulders, shoulders, boom, gap down. They actually dropped news. I forgot what the news was, but they did gap down. Oh, they got downgraded. So the daily bear flag worked, right? They got downgraded, and a slight overreaction by the market, of course. All right, held 218, and it's been on a tear back to fill this gap. You can see Microsoft has filled the gap. So this could be a type of situation where you fill the gap, all right, and then you pull back. Okay, Microsoft is still very much high in price, in my opinion. Okay, they haven't quite experienced the pain as other companies like Tesla. So it's still my opinion that before this bear market is over, if it's already over, then well, here we are. But if the bear market is not over, the two last standing generals must fall. Okay. You look at this, right? Pre-pandemic highs was in 2020, $82 on Apple. Okay. Microsoft, pre-pandemic high, 191. Okay. Let's talk about the other generals of the market. Tesla, okay, pre-pandemic high, $61. Okay, so you look at this weekly perspective, and you can still see that Tesla has more room to go. All right, they say that Meta would never fall. Okay, we see Meta falling way below pre-pandemic highs. Right, it was $223. We're at 136 with a low, a 52-week low of $86. Okay, and Mr. Zuckerberg wants to keep spending on metaverse, so we'll see their earnings coming up shortly in a couple of weeks as well. So this has been on a tear as well, 136.98. All right, so no one thought Netflix will ever fall to pre-pandemic lows, and here we are. Netflix, okay, was 377, ran to $700 stock and retraced to 171. Been on a nice rise, okay, for sure. All right, they want to fill the gap. I think they already filled the gap on Netflix, but it's having trouble, I believe, right? Oh, it did. Ooh, it filled the gap Friday. Did you guys see that? No kidding. It filled the gap on Friday with the shooting star. Interesting. Let's watch Netflix this week. Okay. What other generals of the market? Amazon. All right. Let's talk about Google. All right. Amazon on the weekly chart. Where are we? All right. Pre-pandemic lows or highs was 109. All right, and we dipped down to COVID lows, ladies and gentlemen, with a nice bounce back for sure. All right, nice dome here, weekly inverted cup. But these are the generals and darlings of 2010, 2020s. All right, and and these things all pull back. Look at Google. Who would have thought? All right, Google nearly hit pre-pandemic highs. Okay, which was around the $76 level, and we hit 83. Okay, so I'm not saying every one of these stocks has to go back to pre-pandemic, but what I am saying is that all these things eventually fall back down toward legit prices. Okay, Tesla obviously being the big one. All right, so you still have Microsoft. I still believe that Microsoft and Apple still has more room to go, and then towards this mark. All right, Microsoft has at some $200 testing to do. So we'll see if they run up into earnings or not to put. Right. Okay. You look at, we could look at chips. If you look at AMD, right? AMD on the weekly here, pre-pandemic highs was literally $60. Guess what, folks? We hit that. No one thought AMD would ever dip. Okay. All right. That's pretty interesting, isn't it? We hit the pre-pandemic high and bounced, holding this line. Yeah. Weekly trend line here. AMD is going to be interesting this following week. See if that trend line holds. Okay. NVIDIA actually looking better though. Look at that. Okay. Popped out towards that 180 mark, SMA 20 on the weekly, rejected about 4 weeks ago, coming right back up. Okay. So yeah, there's some room up here for NVIDIA to keep going. It actually did break downtrend, it looks like. Yeah, you look at March pre-pandemic, all right, lows or pre-pandemic highs, all right, actually came back 346 to 107 dip. Okay, think about think about all of that trillions of dollars in market cap lost on Nvidia. All right. It's these bear markets are absolutely brutal, right? But if you look at their forward PE, look at their earnings expectations, are they still are these stocks cheap? I don't think so. Not yet. Okay. All right. Is Tesla cheap? Right. $100 support. Cheap. Right. 102 support. Right. The market believes it's cheap at 102. But I think you will see Tesla breaking below 100 in a few months. All right. Come up here, flirt with these levels. Okay. Well, that's just my opinion. Okay. All right. So I think that's about it, ladies and gentlemen, unless you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, suggestions. Nice catch on the move with the calls yesterday. All right. Nice, bull flag. I was, once it started coming down here and it started holding the 3450 cloud, I was like, yeah, add more. All right. So nice run up. Okay. Like I said, we need it. I think, we're going to tap 400 somehow, right? It's going to tap it and we'll see how the market reacts. But I do think that this coming week, my weekly target is 390 for this week. Okay. Yeah, there's been news on this debt ceiling. I don't think the market really cares because they'll just pass some laws and stuff on the midnight hour or something like that to increase the debt ceiling. I don't think it's going to be a big deal. We already know America's we're deep in debt. All right, there's no doubt about that. I don't think the markets are going to react to it. All right, unless something dramatic happens or whatever. All right, that's about it, folks. I think we're done here. All right, appreciate you guys hopping on. I will, this has been recorded. I will go ahead and drop the video later in the room. Any upcoming news or speakers? Yes, at the beginning of our conversation, we did talk about the upcoming calendar. The major data going into next week is the PPI data on Wednesday. You do have jobless claims once again on Thursday. And I don't think we have any good data on Friday. Well, hold on. Let me just check that real quick. Oh, existing home sales on Friday. Fed speakers on Friday. Thursday, Fed speakers, yes. Thursday, jobless claims, initial jobless claims. You do have housing starts, okay? Housing starts on Thursday as well, so that's kind of key. And but that's about it. I mean, and then Wednesday, as I said, PPI is going to be big. So Tuesday, you know, Tuesday might chop around, I think. All right, wait for the data. But overnight on Monday or Tuesday, Wednesday overnight, you have core CPI data from Great Britain. All right. And that may move the markets overnight on Tuesday morning. They have their core CPI as well on Tuesday morning. Yeah. Okay, got it. All right. So, not big news week, but certainly, PPI can move the data, housing starts, as I mentioned. Oh, yes. Thank you, Saray. You have OPEX options expiration coming up this week as well. Let's see how much. Today, January 20th. Yep, January options. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I don't know what the figure is, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be in the trillions. All right. So yes, you do have OPEX on Friday. All right. And that's going to get sloppy around the market. Okay. Okay. So thank you guys for joining on this evening or this morning. And I'll see you guys back in the rooms. See ya.